And welcome to the Pitch Manchester Regional Final. My name's Christopher Goodfellow and I'm the Programme Manager of the Pitch. We had over 500 entries this year, and from that we picked our finalists to pitch at regional finals across the UK. So we've got 6 events, and what you're seeing today is the best startups from this region as they compete for a place in the overall final next month in London. So even to get to this point, they've done fantastically well, and we've got a real variety of types of businesses pitching tonight, so it'll be really good fun. Before we get into the pitching part of the event, we are going to welcome our judges to the stage for a short panel. We'll find out a little bit about the kind of businesses that they invest in, what they look for in founders, and how you can get in touch if you're interested in speaking to them. So do have a think. Amelie's going to host the panel. She'll ask questions, but there will be time for the audience to ask questions as well. So if there's anything you want to ask about your funding journey or startups in general, do have a think, and you'll get a chance to ask that at the end. And I believe they're also all hanging around for the networking for at least a quick drink, hopefully. Yeah, getting nods from the front, so that's a good sign. So you can grab them then too. So yeah, if I could start with a massive round of applause for the judges, and if they could join me on stage, that'd be fantastic.
It's quite high up here. All right, thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We've got such a fantastic turnout. It's really exciting, and we've got a really exciting range of pitches for you tonight. But before we get into it, I'm going to introduce these guys here to my left. So we've got Jessica from Praetura Ventures, we've got Kiran from Mercia, and we've got Oli from Fearless Adventures. So just a quick Q&A to find out a bit more about these guys, what they do, the kind of things they're looking for in a pitch, so make sure you're taking notes. So first things first, can you guys just tell us a bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no problem. Hi, everyone. I'm Jess. I'm from Praetura Ventures. I'm one of the investment managers there. We actually have VIS funds that we've been raising for a number of years, and I actually sit on the Life Sciences Fund, so I can talk a little bit about both of those. The EIS fund focuses on tech and health businesses, predominantly SaaS, but not always. We are sort of venturing a little bit into consumer, which is quite exciting. We tend to do reasonably established businesses that have some recurring revenue element. And again, I'll never put a pin in exactly what that is, because it does vary depending on kind of what sector you're in. And our check sizes can be anything from sort of 750, maybe up to 1.5. On the life sciences side, yeah, we can do diagnostics, therapeutics, medical devices, health tech. So yeah, we see a lot of variety there, and we can invest a lot earlier in that space. So we can do tickets as little as 50k up to $1 million for a first check.
Great, thanks, and Oli?
Yeah, so Oli Connolly from Fearless Adventures. We are an embedded venture capital firm. Now you're thinking, what the hell does that mean? So effectively, we invest in consumer businesses and consumer tech businesses, and then we've built an in-house ecosystem that drives value into those investments. So we have e-commerce, growth managers, management accounts, recruitment teams. We've launched digital skills academies that we can push talent into the business that we back. That's something that we fund as part of our investments. Investments we look at sort of stage-wise is sort of seed towards Series A. So we'll write checks up to 500k with the value add of everything else that we give. Types of businesses that we look for, like I said, is consumer-led by founders who probably bootstrapped it to that particular point, and the next EIS fund will start to venture more into sort of B2B e-commerce tech.
Fantastic, and finally, Kiran.
Kiran Mehta, investment manager at Mercia Ventures, so very much does what it says on the tin, early stage venture investor, similar sort of journey to what the guys have mentioned, sort of seed through to Series A. We do the occasional Series B round, we do the occasional pre-seed round, but most of what we do, seed to Series A. Some people go in, well, what the hell is that? Seed, very much in our minds anyway, everyone's got a different perspective, but typically post-product, and well, always post-product and typically post-revenue, depending on the business. If there's something really tangible in the IP, potentially pre-revenue, but ordinarily some sort of customer traction. We do checks from $500,000 through to 10 mil. The team split into early stage and later stage, so I sit in our early stage team that's doing sort of $500,000 to 3 million. And then the team also splits down into sector focuses. So we've got a life sciences team that are way, way cleverer than I'll ever be. And then we've got the technology side, which is software and hardware, where I sit.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Everybody got all of that? Perfect. All right. So first one then, what's the immediate thing you're looking for in a pitch? And since you're holding the mic, you are on the spot here.
Yeah, I think for me, especially in this climate, it's really about value proposition. You know, what problem are you solving for your customers? I think if you kind of roll back 2 years to 2021, there were some products that were quite nice to have. They had a good UX, UI, but it wasn't really solving a deep problem for customers, and they were still getting funded. You kind of roll forward to the market that we're in now. For me, there's only really two types of businesses that are getting funding. Either one that can evidence that they save their customers quite a significant amount of costs, or two, they can add a significant amount of revenue to the top line. Sounds a bit capitalist and a bit mercenary, but they're the businesses that I think are getting funded in this climate.
For me, it's something that's interesting. So something that hits you early in the pitch, and I guess from a consumer background and what we look at, it's having something that you can buy into straight away that you're going to get. Because if I can get it with as limited intelligence I have, then the consumer or the buyer, the customer, is going to be able to get it as well.
Luxury going last. I can just agree with everyone else. I think you know everything that Kiran and Oli have said is absolutely true. I think, you know, we've as investors, we sort of learned to spot the substance behind the pitch. So I think, you know, this is probably quite pertinent for as advice for today. But, you know, you see pitches or like people doing the sort of TED Talk treatment of like pacing around and like all the hand gestures. But actually, when you listen to what they're saying, it's guff. So like, don't worry about that kind of stuff. Just concentrate on kind of having a coherent narrative, you know, absolutely. What problem are you solving? How are you the solution? But then how are you actually going to go to market and sell this thing? You could have the best thing in the world, but you know, if no one's there to buy it, then you don't really have a business, unfortunately.
Well, you've had the luxury of going last. Now I'm going to give you the luxury of going first now. So we kind of talked about those essentials, but what gets you really excited about a business?
I think it's just being able to kind of see what impacts a product or service can have. I think that's where I tend to get excited. I know we were just sort of having a chat as VCs do when you meet at networking events. Oh, what are you working on at the moment? And then you sort of, you know, there are businesses out there that are incredibly lucrative models, and I'm not dissing these sort of like, you know, financial services or whatever. But personally, I really like things that have a meaningful impact on the world. So some of the things that I backed in my previous role that I'm like incredibly proud of, I'll still talk about. I'm probably not going to talk about the boring ones. But yeah, likewise, working on a life sciences fund, I'm incredibly lucky in that regard, because most of these, you know, businesses are addressing a discrete health issue or are trying to sort of innovate in a, you know, a really difficult to innovate space. Actually, it's a very difficult market to crack into. So yeah, having a really, really good product is really important. So impact is a big one for me.
Founders themselves, you guys who are in the room, you know, the ones that we're going to be working with for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it's going to be. And it's that sort of, can you envisage going on that journey with them? What's that going to look like? Is it going to be harmonious? Is it going to be painful? Is it going to be somewhere in between? Because it's not a linear path. So having someone there who has an ability, this is something that we've really sort of drilled down on, an ability to listen to advice, not always take it, but listen to advice and apply it to their business. Some founders you see are so headstrong on where they're going. They don't always take advice on board, and don't get me wrong, sometimes they're right, and they're right to be so headstrong, but equally having the ability to listen, process, and then make a decision as to whether you're going to listen to advisors around you, not just VCs, it's the people who are going to surround the business as well, because good businesses will attract good people, and should do, and it's one of the things I know we'll be looking for tonight is the sort of traction within any business's market that they've managed to pull close. So listen, and that's sort of things that you can get excited about in terms of the journey.
Oli's clearly read my questions, covered about 3 other questions in that one, but that's fine. Kiran, anything to add?
Yeah, I'm probably going to throw off a few people's pitches with this answer, but problems and honesty. I think, you know, if you look at the it's different today with obviously short format pitch, but if you look at a kind of traditional VC pitch that might be 30, 45 minutes, there's nothing worse than when you get to the end of it, there's no problems, there's no issues, and everything's great. Founders think that's probably the way to get capital, but it's not, because the investors know it's such early stage businesses. There's always risks, there's always problems. Sometimes your investor can help answer some of those. So yeah, maybe not the answer everyone wanted, but problems and honesty is quite exciting.
Since you've kind of covered this, I'm going to start with you, Oli, if that's all right. Just thinking about that founding team, there will be quite a lot of solo founders in the room, or maybe a couple of people. So can you talk a bit more about how important that team is in terms of maybe those mentors and advisors, people who've got that expertise behind them, kind of bringing those people on board?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've recently just done a deal or a follow-on round within one of our portfolio that the primary reason for it was to bring, smart money closer to the business. So that comes down to identifying the weaknesses of the business, and that can be personnel. So you can have that headstrong founder who knows their market better than most, but might have weaknesses in physical business operations and managing people. And how do you de-risk the parts of the business, parts of the investment that are there? It comes from that honesty of looking at the business, which sometimes is easier when somebody else putting that sort of lens on your business. The rose-tinted glasses can be on at times with what you've built. But having the ear and listening, like I said, to the people around you, hopefully trying to offer good advice and just fill in those gaps is something that we've done in a recent round, and touch wood, it's going to be really positive to the business that was already built on really nice solid foundations.
Have either of you got anything to add to that?
I'll be honest, I forgot what the question was. I'm just nodding along for you.
Oh yeah, great, yeah. No, just talking about the importance of that founding team and bringing other people on board. Kiran, do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I think the founding role is quite interesting, because if you've got a solo founder, who is that kind of next employee that's coming into your business? I think there's a kind of blend of founder, co-founder, and all the other management team that comes. I think the key bit for me for sort of solo founders is be quite generous with the senior people that you bring in after you, in terms of, in particular, around shares. So the positive and the negative. I've got a business that we've invested into that's got 6 founders. It's quite hard to make the dynamics of a cap table work when you've got to split it 6 ways. Some people have a tendency of saying, well, if I've got it on my own, that's great. It's really hard for an investor to then say, one, what is the plan after that individual if for whatever reason they want to change? And 2, how do you really ensure that there is a team around it that's properly incentivized? So solo founders, absolutely, no problem. Some great solo founders over the years, but just think about how you incentivize others to come on that journey with you.
I've backed a fair few solo founders in my time, particularly while I was heading up GC Angels, and I think they tended to be like incredibly sort of single-minded individuals in terms of like that vision and the mission of the business. And, they were, in most cases that I can think of, they were non-technical. But for me at that point and my investment mandate, it wasn't as critical as it probably will be for a VC. So I think, just to Kiran's point, think about what skills you don't have and be really honest about what those gaps are in your business. And it can be quite hard to find the right person to bring alongside you, but, it's going to be important if you're going to go on that journey.
Yeah, lots to think about there. And just thinking about another thing that Oli touched on, but I'll stay with you, Jess, if that's all right. Just thinking about that traction piece, and particularly for these kind of early stage businesses that maybe haven't launched, or haven't got those metrics for you. What kind of things are you looking for?
So I mean, pretty much every business that we have, or quite a few of the businesses I can think of in the Life Sciences Fund haven't sort of gone to market yet. So the traction points look very different for those guys. So, for example, what academic backing do they have? Have they had any sort of clinical evidencing? Do they have any kind of advocacy within an NHS trust, for example, whether that's on an advisory basis or through an innovation pathway, a pilot, for example? There's also grant funding, which I'm sure everyone in this room will be aware of. If you are in the sort of life sciences or a tech space, there's quite a lot of grant funding out there, depending on your sector. And if you're, lucky enough to be able to win it, it's incredibly competitive, as you'd imagine. Some of those have, co-investment match schemes in place. We're an investment partner for iUK and their Future Economy grant, for example. So we do get quite a few businesses coming to us saying, hey, it's great news. I've been awarded this grant. It de-risks the business for us because it's providing them with the money they need to do the steps that they've highlighted in their, their investment proposal, but they're not diluting while they're doing that. And we get to kind of co-invest and propel it the rest of the way. So traction does look very different depending on where you are, but it's, it can take different forms.
Yeah, I think exactly that. So it's different markets have traction becomes different things in what we do in consumer. It's all about the customer and having that relationship, what that looks like, sort of your returning customers and how you speak to them, your tone. All of that can be done without funding. So the more bootstrapped you are as a business, the more you have that bedded into your ethos, I think, it makes conversations with people like us far easier or far harder maybe for us to sort of drive good deals, but puts the founders in far stronger positions. So I think in the north we're better than most at doing that. We see a lot of businesses that have done very well bootstrapped, and the sort of the VC angle is, right, how do we go national, international with what we're doing? So really having that bedded into the business and what you're doing day to day is, it only helps.
Anything else to add?
Probably not too much to add to this one. I think the guys have said it pretty well. The majority of the businesses that we do back do tend to be post-revenue, so it's kind of a little bit easier to evidence traction then. But for companies that are raising just general kind of VC raises before that, if you're not getting to revenue, at least having a kind of good understanding of your customer base, testimonials, beta users, all that other good stuff is great. It's really scary for me for when I see someone building in stealth mode. Okay, well, I'm not really sure you understand your kind of market unless you've been out there and spoke to other potential customers. There's kind of not too much unique things that are coming to market. It is how can you do something better than others. So get it out there, test and learn, and iterate quickly will be my advice.
You quite nicely led on to my last question. You're saying, it's not much unique out there, but is there anything that you're particularly excited about? Any kind of sector or technology in particular?
Yeah, I'll leave AI to one of the other guys up here. But for me, communication tech's really interesting. If you look at our lives in general, certainly kind of work lives, somewhere between 20 and 80%, depending who you are, is taken up by emails, Slack, text messages, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, all the other platforms that you use, Teams, etc., etc. And I'm starting to see quite a few businesses now that are looking to automate that. Calendly's interesting. I think that's really kind of 1.0 in a market that will probably get to 3.0 pretty quickly. So quite niche, but communication tech's definitely one that I like.
So we've been looking a lot at the creator economy in general as a fund, if you will, and the types of deals you can do in and around that are ever changing. You're sort of seeing the sort of Castor on cloud with the different relationships they've had with their athletes. So seeing how you can bring, call it brand ambassadors, into your business, depending on how customer facing you are, and being really creative around how you incentivize those people early on in businesses and not having to, just pay big money for that. So there's some very interesting tech coming off the back of that sort of niche within a market as well that we've been looking at. So that'll be one for us. And women's football as well. I keep talking about women's football all the time because we've done a deal in that space.
I am on a health fund, so I mean a lot of the kind of interesting sort of diagnostics and therapeutics that we're looking at. It's a really kind of weird time in the market for those kinds of businesses. They're going very cheap. Foreign investors are looking at the sort of businesses that we're producing in the UK and being like, why aren't you raising more? And, investors over here are like, oh, you need to raise less and be cautious. And I'm sure that annoying narrative does extend into tech as well. I think, outside of that, I am kind of encouraged to see some sort of like circular economy technologies kind of coming out there, the sort of like the second wave. Obviously, like Vinted is like massive. It's everyone uses that now, which is a a startup from Estonia, which has got a pretty thriving tech scene out in Tallinn. But we're sort of seeing newer entrants onto the market in that area, which I think is really, really encouraging. I think a lot of VCs will be kicking themselves that they didn't invest in some of them earlier because they perhaps are not able to relate to not being able to afford stuff. And I'm just going to leave it there. But, it all comes back to the diversity of, investment teams and being able to go, oh, actually, I know what that's like. So I think there's going to be some really exciting businesses breaking through, whether that's in the US and Europe, probably before the UK. But I hope it sort of sets a precedent for like, these are the sorts of things that we need to back and think about, Gen Z for once. I think that'd be nice. So, yeah.
Yeah, lots to be excited
Got
about.
your back.
Lots to be excited about, including everyone that's in this room. So I think we've got time for a few audience questions. If anybody's got anything they would like to ask our judges, don't be shy. Oh, very shy. We're very shy in Manchester. Any at the back?
Yes. I've got one, and any of the three of you could potentially answer. So within your specific fields or verticals, are you seeing a lot more investment in the rec tech market, recruitment technology?
Recruitment tech? Is that? We've got, from sort of Praetura's perspective, like we do have, we've got Arctic Shores in our portfolio. There's probably some that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it's definitely like a saturated space, but there's quite a lot to go after. So I know it can be quite challenging because the recruitment market can sort of stagnate, especially in times of economic struggle. So I think it's, okay, are you really going to own enough of the market? What sets you apart? So yeah, definitely it's a big space, but I think it's how are you going to tackle kind of these unique issues? But yeah.
Yeah, we see a few opportunities, but we historically haven't invested into a great deal. I think there's maybe one or two in the portfolio, and I do sit on a board with someone that runs a recruitment tech business. I think it's hard to figure out which businesses are going to fit in and around LinkedIn, because I think that just won't change. But I think the kind of automation side of it, there's definitely a big market opportunity to go there. To Jesse's point, there's a lot of people in that space, so it's just kind of how do you stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, I used to be a recruiter, so I've got a fair bit on it. I actually did the Arctic Shores.
No.
I did the Arctic Shores deal as well. So it was one of my earlier ones. So the sort of problem with the market is the big volume in the market is run by 3 or 4 players. So unless you're into those 3 or 4 players and playing within their realm, then you've got to go against them, which has its other problems. Something Arctic Shores did was just go straight direct to the big multinational companies that tried to solve a specific problem or a couple of specific problems around things like diversity and how you bring that through your business. So it comes back down to the why. What are you looking to change? If it's just efficiencies and trying to be a different job board, which we've all seen, then it's probably not going to go anywhere because LinkedIn's the biggest job board out there. But if it's more, we've seen some interesting sort of psychometric testing. Obviously, that shows it's gamification of that, which scared the hell out of me when I did it. It showed me how much of a narcissist I was, and so I just stopped it there and then. So yeah, it comes back down to the why, and then back to the probably earlier answers of who's your customer. An interesting one will be someone who gets the consumer as the customer in a way that LinkedIn doesn't, and works with that, because that is still mass market rather than B2B.
Thanks, guys. I think we've got time for one more. One more from anyone in the room? At the front, yeah?
Hi. What would you say are some of the disadvantages to having VC funding?
If you didn't hear that at the back, it's talking about the disadvantages of having VC funding. Anyone want to take this?
Yeah, I'll start. There's a different pressure that comes with it. There's an accountability, which many times is good. If a business is ready for VC, then that usually goes well. If it's not VC ready, or if it's a business that maybe was never ready or for VC, then that's when things usually start to sort of get unpicked. Not particularly because it's a bad investment, just because the business never had the scale. So then when you're not hitting the scale that VCs need to see, then that's when sort of problems can start.
I mean, yeah, I think that's a really great summary. I think all I would add is, if it's the wrong VC, sometimes they just might not be aligned in terms of ethos or just the way they tend to behave. And what I would say to sort of anyone who is out there raising or considering raising is, equally do your diligence on VCs. They shouldn't shy away from that. And if they do, I think that tells you a lot. One of the things that we do is, we will say you can go and reach out to any business in our portfolio, here their names and numbers go. We won't cherry pick them like here they all are, including the businesses that have failed. And we're pretty comfortable that all of them will tell you something positive things about working with us. And that was something we really wanted to do to sort of differentiate ourselves. And yeah, people then get really honest stories about what it's actually like to work with us, how we handled the transaction, were we slow, fast, what are our fees like, how do we behave on the board, are our operational partners really all it's cracked up to be? All of those questions, have a load of questions and be prepared to diligence them in the same way. And I think, that's a good way of making sure that you're going to be a good fit for one another.
Great, thanks, Jess. Anything to add on the end?
Yeah, I think it's probably worth mentioning, just for context, there's probably only about 1% of businesses that want to raise venture funding that actually go on to do that. And usually it's to do with market opportunity and the speed in which those businesses can execute. So there's a lot of stuff done around, investor readiness, raising funds, and it's all great, but I think there's also a very fruitful path for businesses that don't raise venture capital. It might take you a little bit longer, it might be a bit slower, but at the end of it, you'll still own, as founders, 100% of the business. And actually, if you can build a £5-10 million business, whilst that will never support venture returns, because venture investors are looking for that 10, 20, 30 times exit, you can build a great business without venture funding, depending on, obviously, the model.
Great questions, guys, and great answers. So I think we're going to wrap it there. Just before we finish up, where can people reach out and find you?
Easiest place for me is LinkedIn.
Yeah, same. Biggest CV platform out there, right?
Yeah, LinkedIn. Or you can sort of, anyone can send a pitch directly through our site and one of the team looks at it. It's not a robot. Honestly, we do look at them. So yeah, equally, if you just want to talk, LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. Give a round of applause for our fantastic judges, everyone.
Thanks to our judges. Really good panel there. And I thought it was a great question to end it on and think about, what type of investments, right? And the people we see going through the pitch, obviously lots of them will look to VC. But there's a lot in working with grant organisations like Innovate UK and Angels as well. So I really appreciate that context at the end. So we're getting on to the pitching part of the event. And we want to create as a supportive environment as we can for our pitchers. If you've ever tried to stand up and explain your business in 90 seconds at the front of a packed room of people, it is really tough. If you've even tried to explain your business in 90 seconds full stop, you'll find out it's quite tough. So we do a couple of things to make people feel welcome. So the first is, and I don't think any of you would do this, but please don't talk during the pitches because it can throw people off a little bit if they look out and someone's chatting or whatever. The second thing is when they're coming up onto the stage, just give them a massive round of applause. So get that energy up. Get them hyped up so when they stand here to start their pitch, they're ready to go. And then the final thing is when they finish their pitch, again, another massive round of applause. Just congratulate them before they go on to their Q&As. So on that note, I'll welcome our first pitcher to the stage, which is Elliot from ValArt.
Hello, I'm Elliot from ValArt. ValArt is a authenticity, valuation and digitized catalogue for artwork. So the problem ValArt wants to solve is around authenticity. So if anyone's ever purchased artwork, you buy your artwork and then a few weeks later you get a load of paperwork for the post, which is your authenticity and your provenance documents. Personally, I never figured out why it's paper. So what we want to do is turn those documents into an NFT. So most people currently store those documents in a filing cabinet or on a OneDrive or a Google Drive. So if you lose them, you're pretty goose with your artwork, to be honest. So what we want to do is turn them into an NFT to make it nice and easy. If you want to buy and sell or make an insurance claim, you don't have to worry about the provenance of the authenticity documents because they're there. What we also want to do is bring physical and digital art together, so it's nice and easy in an easy catalogue, because at the moment you have to use multiple platforms. So currently we have a waiting list of B2C and B2B users waiting for our MVP, which we're currently building, which we are bootstrapping. I'm a solo founder, but I do have a circle of advisors around me. One of them is with me tonight, Ben, who's sat in the back. They've been instrumental in helping me get ValArt to where it is today, and they're made up of founders and exited founders. And my ask this evening, we are raising our pre-seed of SEIS. We do have our SEIS, I can never get it right, Advanced Assurance, so we are raising 250. We are looking for investors who can kind of help with that intellectual capital to help us grow and become, as successful as I think we can be. So thank you very much.
Guess I'll start. First of all, great pitch. It's never easy to go first. Really interesting space. I've seen a few businesses doing similar. How do you guys think about kind of competition?
There's quite a few people out there at the moment, but our USP is that because we're bringing physical and digital art together, we've also got a very simple valuation model to begin with. And because, to my knowledge and my research, we would be the first company to actually turn documents into an NFT. There's lots of people turning the actual artwork into an NFT, but there is no one turning the documentation. We want to leave the artwork as physical, it's just the documentation we want to turn into an NFT.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Cool, yeah, well done, first off.
Thank you.
Talk to me about the charge model, B2B.
So it's a B2C and a B2B model. So B2B is primarily with insurance companies, because we do want to link with insurance companies to kind of help with the quotation aspect and the claim aspect, because that is a bit of a pain point for them at the moment during my discussions with them. And then for the B2B aspects, it's the digitized catalog would be, along with the NFT and the valuation, is a monthly cost to the user. And then the idea is they bring it together and it's just one monthly cost, and then we just turn everything into NFTs for them.
Thanks, well done. I have two questions, one which is really quick and the other not so much. So the first one was just how many people are on your wait list?
So off the top of my head, I think we've got 20 B2C users and we've got 2 insurance companies and 1 art gallery.
Great. And the final question from me was, how are you approaching sort of building trust in something like NFTs? I wasn't sort of sure what the Venn diagram would be with people who know how to use those and people who collect art. I might be completely off base, but just curious.
No, it's okay. I know there needs to be a lot of education around NFTs. There is a lot of distrust, unfortunately, especially when it comes to blockchain and crypto and that sort of thing. So there would need to be education around the NFT to build the trust. So the idea is we wouldn't force people into having NFTs. It would be, we'd give them the option, and then as more and more people opt in, they would become our use cases, and then we'd build trust with users, and then say, look, this is how many people have done it, and this is how many people we have helped. Why don't you sign up to it today to make your life easier?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Time for one more question for the judges, or we'll go to the...
I was just going to quickly ask a little bit more about team, either kind of your background or if there's anyone, whoever else is in the business.
Yeah, no, so I'm on my Todd at the moment. My background is I work in corporate, have done for years in security and facilities management at a senior level. I'm just an art collector, and basically I just wanted to solve my own problem because I purchased artwork, and it's always baffled me why they just dish me out paper. It just sits in a filing cabinet at home, and I'm like, if my house burns down or goes on fire, I've lost it, and I'm just totally goosed. So I was just, sat, as most people do, on the toilet, thinking of ideas, and then thought, I've got an extra 10 minutes in my life. Everyone thinks I'm a bit nuts. Why don't I just give it a go? So that's where it kind of came from, to be honest. And then as I've done my customer discussions, I discovered that more and more people would like to see something like this in the space and think that it's actually got use to fix a problem that does exist. So yeah, that's generally more about it. And then with my advisors, I'm quite lucky, to be honest. So I've got Ben, who sat in the back. He's a founder of his own company, very successful asset management company. I've got another founder who's helping me. He's developed a payment system, so he's helping me as well. I've got a CFO as well, who is also helping me as well. So I've been very lucky with that, in having them around me where I can draw advice from and get help as and when I need it.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Great pitch. Next up, we've got Eddie from mindcubes.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to pitch. My name is Eddie from mindcubes. So we are now in the midst of convergence between search, semantic, AI, and AR. And we've created semantic engine to capture the opportunities. So we've got 2 patents and 6 pending in the US, Japan, Europe, and Singapore. Our team consists of 2 PhD computer scientists based in Germany. We are now building use cases in various industries. One of them is subsidence insurance, where we use domain-specific semantic modeling to build risk factor for subsidence, risk rating subsidence for homeowners. The second case is we work with farming industry, where we use visual recognition and semantic knowledge model to track the growth of trees as well as the abnormalities that comes from that during a certain kind of period of time. And right now, we are focusing on looking at the problem of processed food and the food system that is chemical-based, and we built semantic plus AI ingredients engine to try to tackle the problem, to help the society that is struggling with that. As we know, there are tons of reports from Sustainable Food Trust, Broken Plate reports, every year is about the same, but no one really get into the root of the problem, solve that, so we try to do that. The opportunities are huge. Visual recognition itself is a 17 billion pound industry, and the home insurance market in the UK is going to be hitting 6 billion in 5 years. And every year, the UK consumers spend 120 billion on food and another 120 billion to spend on health and environmental costs. So as we scale from sector to sector, we see the huge opportunity. So we are looking for £500,000 to be with us in this journey, and we look forward to you being with us in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Another great pitch and very noble cause, especially on the food side. Just talk to me a little bit more about your revenue model.
Revenue model, the platform has a subscription model, so it's simple on monthly basis, £600 per month and £6,000 per year, unlimited API, unlimited metadata setup, and we provide a search bar where it can be implemented in any website with just 2 lines of HTML code, so it's efficient in terms of if they buy an advertisement, for example, on Sky Sport Football, we saw somebody's buying advertisement for one icon, but it has no catalog or anything in that. So click on that, and boom, they went to another site. So it's not good for Sky Sports Football as well. So, right. So we haven't got into the API tier pricing. So that's another source of revenue. As we scale, customers become heavy users, then we can get into the API tier pricing model. Thank you.
Thank you. Lots of opportunity there. What's the next 12 months? What's that going to look like from a revenue perspective and vertical? Because you covered a lot in the pitch. Right. Next 12 months, what are you?
Yeah, because right now we decided strategy is we're going to be getting help from VCs, from you guys, so that we can grow fast. Because as we know, the opportunities are huge and things are moving fast. So we want to go fast. We want to get a lot of users, whether trial users, eventually we convert them into pay users, and just attack one sector by one sector, and hopefully we can do it fast with the help of VC funding. And another cost that we are very, very passionate about is the ingredients engine. So just build a semantic model, semantic plus AI. There's a combination of knowledge graph and AI. So there's no guesswork on AI. When a fact is a fact, so that's why we have this semantic model. And we have a patent on that. We're creating a semantic model. It's just in seconds. So it's database in seconds. And so that's going to be the focus, and it's going to help society as well. It's help the environment, and hopefully, we can work with public sectors and private sectors to build some sort of food program. One of the key area focus on the sustainable, the broken plate, right, is that, on the top and the lowest 20% of population in the UK, they're struggling to get healthy food because it's going to cost them 50% of their income just to eat healthy. So there's something not right there. And it's not that difficult to solve if they know what they're consuming. and maybe with the help of public sectors, we can build some sort of program into the engine. So the engine is ready, we just need to have a few touches here and there and backing of public and private sectors, and I think we can do some good stuff for society. Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry I didn't go through your tenure. And next up, we have Rob from GIGMATES.
Evening, everybody. 85% of music fans have missed out on going to a gig because they didn't have someone to go with in their personal network. I think that's a real shame. GIGMATE is the solution to this problem. We provide bespoke event recommendations based on your music taste. We give you the chance to connect with music fans that support the same genre of music as you. And GIGMATE will safely match you up with people like you to go to live events together. We launched GIGMATE in September 22, and we've had over 6,000 people on the website and 1,000 email sign-ups. We've run an MVP of the algorithm matching in Liverpool with 150 members that have regularly connected, gone to events, and had a great time together. We have BBC Six Music, Radio X, and the High Performance Podcast have all had positive features on GIGMATE, which has been great. We've had some really positive PR there. And our new GIGMATE app will be a game changer in terms of the service for user experience, connection, and engagement. We'll commercialize the service through a monthly subscription fee. Our team has over 50 years experience in this sector, in the live events industry. I've worked in senior commercial roles across sports, music, entertainment, and I built an extensive network across that sector. We're asking for 400k investment to be able to roll out GIGMATE to the whole of the UK. I'm Rob March, the founder of GIGMATE, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the service.
Well done, Rob. Nailed it. And I really like the bit you gave about traction was excellent. Can I just clarify how you've been able to sort of size your market, like both in the UK and wider? Where could you take it sort of beyond the UK?
Yeah, so UK market is about 30 million attendees for live events and festivals. Average that about two events per year across the board. You're looking at about 15 million gig goers, event goers. So pretty huge market to go for. Year one is very, year one's target's about 12,500 subscribers, paid subscribers, but that's going up to about 400,000 in year 5. So that's kind of how I'm tracking. Obviously, yeah, to get into other markets would be phenomenal. And then you're looking at the States and opportunities there, and the figures are huge.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, great pitch, Rob. How do you see this fitting within the sort of ecosystem of live events, the organisation, ticketing, the sort of partnerships you can do? What does that sort of look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The major beneficiaries to this, apart from the subscription fee, will be the ticketing companies, will be the artists, will be the management, will be the promotion. Ultimately, this will create additional ticket revenue from an untapped market. Nobody goes after these people. Nobody matches them up and sells these extra tickets. So yeah, as I say, I've worked in this sector for 20 years. I know the ticketing guys, but also to your point earlier, I think there's an artist element here of actually getting artists to support GIGMATE and bring in, as you mentioned with Castor, that kind of brand ambassador role is something that I'm looking for. There's a lot of beneficiaries that I think I can work with on this.
Great pitch, and absolutely love the energy, so thanks for that. Just sounds a bit of a sort of boring, somewhat kind of old school question, but just from a reputational risk perspective, how do you kind of cover that, something bad happens to one of the people that's matched up on your platform?
That's normally the first question. Yeah, it's just ensuring that we provide those guidelines. There's full online meetup guidelines. There's full meeting in person. Obviously, these people are meeting in public spaces. What the app gives us is a moderation element, a self-policing element. It will be, previously the MVP was email driven and was website. The app is a community, so that community will be self-policing, but there'll also be guidelines there in terms of how people meet up and how people connect, and very secure in terms of that data as well.
Thank you. Good time, everybody. final question. If you guys don't know,
I'm good.
I actually don't.
Okay, any quick questions? Yeah, back.
How do you validate individuals? Because it looks like it's open to abuse in the sense of, weirdos can just pretend to be anyone and create fake accounts.
That's kind of to the question I just answered, hopefully, in terms of kind of providing the recommendations. I will, now that I've moved to a mobile, I'll be able to put full security API on there for matching. So similar to when you buy your tickets and you've got to provide your passport and you've got to scan your face. So people will have to prove who they are. I'm kind of, might be too positive that most people are okay. I think that if you look at the dating app ecosystem and how they kind of manage these issues. Does that answer your question? Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, next up we've got Chris from Bodii.
Hey everyone. So, at the age of 17, as an aspiring footballer, I tore the ligaments in my knee. Over the course of 6 years after that, I went on to have 4 major injuries, including 2 operations. That was a direct result of bad physiotherapy and a poor recovery journey. At Bodii, we help physiotherapy patients recover from injury in an insightful and engaging manner. Specifically, we've developed a wearable, where is it? There it is, a wearable that helps patients measure their range of movement at the convenience of their home, making data accessible and easy to use. The barriers to physiotherapy in the UK are extremely high. People are waiting at least 45 days, if not months, to actually get an appointment within the NHS. And if they choose to go private, they're paying on average £50 for a 30-minute session. This forces people to self-manage care with limited guidance and no feedback. In fact, there's 70% of people that actually don't follow through on their exercises. We're solving that problem. Over the past year, we've gone from idea to market, mitigated key product and commercial risks, and I've been able to inspire and bring on people from the industry to really back me up from the health ecosystem. That includes one of the largest physio groups, universities, and we've now got beta testers looking at our product and giving us feedback. We're now raising £300,000 to help us execute our go-to-market, build IP-rich roadmap, and ultimately, and most importantly, solve a problem that affects 1.71 billion people globally. Thank you.
Good stuff. Sad luck, because my wife's a physio. She's a private physio, so I understand everything you've just said. The problems in the market. There's a lot of problems within the NHS that this won't solve with the physio, hands-off physio that you've got. There's a lot of compliance or non-compliance with exercise that this will solve. And I think that's what you need to sort of lean into. Just talk to us how you've looked at the private market, because NHS we know is hard to get into with sort of budgets. That private physio market, athlete again led recovery would be good for this.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. Why aren't we going into the NHS directly, and why are we looking at private clinics? We've got to build a use case in the private sector for the NHS to even think about understanding us to begin with. There's too many barriers to entry over there, so we need to prove the model to begin with. The physiotherapy market's really siloed, so there's a huge supply of physio clinics, typically small business owners who want to improve their quality of care. One thing I've learned is no 2 physios are the same. We're going to encounter physios who don't want to adopt tech, and they're going to have the very classic statement of, if someone's using something to improve their experience outside, why will they come back? I kind of ignore that comment because it's a very, they don't think about it. In fact, there's data that shows that higher engagement outside a clinic actually motivates people to come into a clinic more because they're much more engaged. So that's why we've decided to go into the physio ecosystem, a private physio ecosystem, sorry.
Slightly bizarre question for a guest for a business at this stage, but who do you see purchasing? Who do you see buying this business at the end?
Yeah, so because of the stage we're at, it's probably gonna change over time. Kind of my hypothesis is a B2B2C model. So much of our focus is getting private clinics on board. trying to educate patients to purchase us and even understand what the importance of range of movement and understanding that data is way too difficult. We're too early as a community, as an ecosystem to understand that. So right now it's a referral from physios into a patient. The patient ultimately pays. But in order for that to happen, we need to get the clinics on board. So a lot of the marketing, a lot of my sales focus, the relationships I'm building is getting into physio so they can go, look, go away, do all your exercises, but this is what you should use because it'll help you stay engaged, but I can also look at this data when you come back in and give you some more detailed feedback.
Yeah, I think all these points absolutely bang on the compliance side. I mean, I was sort of quite cynically thinking about the private clinic of like, they don't want to get rid of you as a patient quicker because they can earn more money from you if your recovery's slower, but we'll move over that. I think we covered some of the questions that I had where I was going to ask sort of like, why not the NHS? But I guess just kind of coming on to compliance, like, do you foresee sort of needing any compliance standards for this device in any way, and if so, kind of where are you at on that journey?
Yeah, so about 8 months ago, we wanted to be a hardware business. We've kind of grown from that. Right now, the hardware is basically a conduit to what we're trying to achieve. So we use off-the-shelf hardware. Much of our IP is in how can we take the raw data and make that meaningful and communicate it to patients so that it actually makes sense to them and makes their life easier. We're not intending to give medical advice, so I'm very careful about positioning us away from being one of those companies that want to replace a physiotherapist's work. As someone who's been through it a lot, I know the value of human touch, and I'm a big advocate for that, and people needing to go in, but we need to complement that, so we're not giving advice. And because we're not crossing that bridge of becoming a medical device, which allows us to actually go to market and learn from the customers as quickly as possible.
Just a quick one. On the charge model, have you looked at more of a asset rental model with the physios rather than trying to get the physios to sell to the customer?
Yeah, I say B2B2C, but it's effectively a HaaS model for a patient. So they pay only for as long as it actually adds value to them. So we think a patient will probably get 6 to 8 weeks of value with our product, and there's absolutely no point that it's sitting on their shelves. So it's £9 per week. Once they're done, they return it to us. We can actually refurbish it, get it out to someone else. So it's a great unit economics, and it's absolutely no effort from the physio. They don't need to hold any stock. They don't need to have anything. It's purely a referral, and they get a web tool where they get the data.
Brilliant. We'll have to wrap up there. Great pitch there and a really thoughtful Q&A. Great. Next up, we have Darren.
Find my ex. Cool. A few months ago, I planned a perfect date night for my wife. I booked her favourite restaurant, bought her flowers, and she was absolutely ecstatic to be going. And then it all changed. The outfit that she had planned didn't quite fit as she remembered. This left her feeling anxious, lacking confidence, and although she didn't want to go anymore. She had two options: order or rent something online that wouldn't come in time, or frantically run around and try to piece together a new outfit that would keep her feeling the same. Unfortunately, 30% of women her age are left feeling like this on a monthly basis, costing retailers roughly £2.7 billion annually. But that's not the worst of it. 300,000 tonnes of CO2 is pumped into our atmosphere every single year because of last mile fashion logistics. But that's where Same Day comes in. With Same Day, Annie would be able to order her fashion online and have it delivered sustainably in under 2 hours, cutting the CO2 emissions by 20 to 50%. Cutting the CO2 emissions by 20 to 30%. Thank you for that. Cutting the CO2 emissions by 20 to 30%. She can order directly through our mobile beta MVP or through the retailer's website. We've validated this market with over 200 paying subscribers, 50 plus successful deliveries with 100% outstanding customer reviews. The market is a £14.4 billion market, which we set to capture 1% in the next 3 to 4 years. To be able to do that, however, we are seeking SEIS investment very soon, and we're looking for advisors to come on board that know the fashion industry and know how to scale marketplace apps. Thank you. My name is Aaron Ford.
No, great delivery. Don't worry about that. Talk us through the perceived scale problems, bringing on retailers, how you go city to city, and where the traction is currently, presuming it's in Manchester.
It's not actually in Manchester. It's not in Manchester. If I were to start again, I would actually launch in Manchester. My home city is Sheffield. I built relationships early on in the kind of validation stages and speaking to businesses and actually finding what the problem was. I built those relationships, so we started there. You're quite right. Actually scaling this, it's about building real relationships with the businesses. Understanding what their needs are. So one of the early needs that we understood when we actually launched the MVP was actually, especially when you look at independent retailers and boutiques, they may sell on their website, they may sell on Depop and Vinted and the likes of that. So to have an additional piece of software where they have to actually sell, uploading their products becomes really hard. So we've actually started building out the tech to automate the system across all pieces of where they'll put their products. So for example, if they're selling on Shopify, on Depop, and with us, we can automate that system. So it's about really understanding who they are, what their problems are, but then taking that, something that's unscalable, to be able to scale it. But everybody in that space knows everybody. So we trialed a little referral scheme with one business, said, right, can you reach out to 3 businesses and we'll give you some benefits? That worked really well.
So when you were describing the problem, it's every time I get dressed. But yeah, I honestly wasn't the direction I was expecting you to go in. I'm just kind of interested, are you B2C or C2C? Is it peer-to-peer or business to consumer?
So it's B2B2C.
Okay. So when you sort of said, so we'll get something to you quickly and we'll reduce CO2, I was kind of like, what is this wizardry? So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, of course. So I hate using the example because there's so many values that I don't agree with, but ultimately Deliveroo for fashion. So we bring the software and the platform that connects the businesses, so the retailers, with the actual customer. So they would land on our platform, or what we're also building out is our direct integration, which again has come from the research that we've done with businesses, which can go onto their website. A customer would land on that, they would shop as they would normally. We have a pool of delivery drivers, which we're building out to, by the end of 2024, make completely net zero, that will connect the store to the customer with the driver.
Good pitch and great recovery. That's definitely not easy. Just a really quick one, because I do have an investment in this space. Just talk to me a little bit about unit economics and how you make that work.
Yeah, so in terms of the business model, so for the retailers, we charge a 10% commission. For the customers, there's 2 business models, so subscription-based or pay-per-delivery. On a standard delivery of, say, £40, we make roughly 60% on each order that we make. That's a £40 order. So it's very different to the likes of, say, Deliveroo, where it's not actually profitable. We've managed to work it so that it is. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, we can catch up on a bit afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Very well, mate. Okay, next up we've got Xana Medtec.
Hi everyone, I'm Sadia Ahmed. I'm the CEO and founder of Xana Medtec Limited. We're a health tech, med tech company based in Manchester, and we're specialising in health and wellness testing. As you know, with the ageing population, the number of chronic diseases also increase, such as diabetes, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. Blood testing is projected to be the top investment pocket, and 630 million blood tests are carried out and processed in the UK alone annually. On average, 14 tests per person in the UK. Our solution is personalised health and wellness testing together with an AI-driven digital health platform for our clients to be able to visualize, track, and analyze their health insights over a period of time and for early detection and general health maintenance. Our tests include sports performance, food intolerance, cancer detection tests, and genetic testing. We're also developing our prototype, which is a home diagnostic medical device, which will give you real-time health insights without the need of having a lab in itself. We're also working on a digital imaging finding device, which we're looking to distribute across the NHS and abroad. We were selected to join a UK Medtech delegation trade mission to Saudi Arabia, and we received huge feedback and interest from prominent stakeholders there. We won Healthcare Testing Company of 2023, which I'm really proud of. We have CQC regulated clinics throughout the UK. We have a UCAS medical lab accreditation, which we're on our final stage, which will give us more margin and more chance to grow within the UK and abroad. We have an advisory board, which is KMPG for the medical regulation. We have Innovate UK for business commercial, and medical and scientific advisors as well. We're looking to raise £500,000 for our first seed round. Thank you so much.
Brilliant pitch, thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Just in terms of scaling the business, obviously, typically companies in this space need to raise quite a bit of capital. How do you think about that for your company?
Yeah, so medical devices, like you just said, I totally agree. There's a lot of capital to be raised, and this is why we're here. And we've done so much, achieved so much with very little capital. So that should give encouragement that we could do a lot more with a lot more money. But I think we've got KPMG who are really advising us on our roadmap for the regulation side of things. And with a roadmap in place, we can completely map out what's needed and when. Our focus is the UK market, but we do have interest in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UAE. And with our medical lab accreditation in place, we can go internationally with our products and services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go quick because, yeah. How do you, I guess, differentiate in what is a pretty crowded market already?
Yes. So with our digital health dashboard, we will be incorporating an AI solution algorithm, and we want to further develop that. So initially, it's data health insights for cholesterol or nutrients or any other biomarker. And later on in the next 5 years, we plan to look at disease progression or inflammation or track inflammation. So I know competitors out there are not very much focused on disease progression, but that's in our plans, and that's our main focus, to help manage and maintain disease progression.
Yep, thanks for the pitch, really slick.
Thank you.
You mentioned an awful lot of things, you know, lots of different biomarkers. You've mentioned AI, you've mentioned med device. I think, yeah, I was sort of thinking the same things as Kiran, but where are you planning to start? Because I think, obviously, I think you could get up to a reasonable level outsourcing. You know, it seems like you're outsourcing some labs, but what are the quick, easy wins for you? Because, you know, you've set out sort of quite a long-term roadmap in obviously 90 seconds.
Yeah, so could you just ask that question again?
Yeah,
Sorry.
where are you starting? What are your kind
Where
of
am I
key focuses in terms of customer offering?
Yeah, so our key focus is general health maintenance for now, and then we want to move into cancer detection and other areas, but for that, obviously, we need a wider team, we need GPs on board, and it's not a subject to take lightly, but for us right now, it's general health maintenance, full health screens, whether it be hormonal or genetic. We've got a wide variety, and so far, what I've noticed is from our clients, they like a variety of tests. So sometimes I'll ask for a full blood count and then a urinalysis, you know, and then, you know, just a, you know, like a general liver panel. So it's quite varied, and it's hard to say where we need to start exactly. But for now, general health screens are the popular ones.
Do you have a bit more time? Very quick. Yeah. How do you collect samples?
So we do them in clinic and at home blood test kits. So with our own medical lab in place, hopefully very soon, we will be able to have our own, obviously, diagnostic tests, which will give us better margins than we currently have. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, next up, we've got BeGreatFitness. Bailey, if you want to come to the front.
Hi everyone, my name is Bailey. I'm 20 and I'm the founder of BeGreatFitness, which is a community health and wellbeing company that started in the middle of the pandemic when we all thought the world was over. I don't know if you remember that part. It was a bit scary, but we've got to take it back a little bit to when I was 14. I was in a real dark place, out of school, moved from council house to council house. The education system looked beyond me, and life didn't look too great at a very young age. But fitness was the tool that helped me massively. I remember I went on my very first run, and I went in a pair of black jeans and plimsolls, and I don't know if anyone's ran in jeans, but it is chafy and it is horrible. But I probably ran for 30 seconds and walked for 2 minutes as I tried to catch my breath back. But after that run, I felt incredible. I don't know what this feeling was, but I hadn't felt it before. The endorphins rushed around my body, and I realised that this was what I needed. I carried on exercising, I carried on training. I managed to get back on track and into school. Because of that reason, getting my life back together and the way that fitness helped me, I wanted to ensure that fitness was accessible for everybody else too, that all the barriers were broken down. So we started working on a very local, low-level scale. For the last 3 years, myself and my team of coaches have worked out in communities, with schools, care homes, charities, working with adults with additional needs like Down syndrome and Asperger's. We've worked on projects that have secured spaces for women to feel confident and powerful without any reason for just giving them that space. We've worked with care homes that are dementia specific. We've helped just under 2,000 people access free fitness by acting as the service provider, which means we charge the above bodies and not the people actually participating. Our mission is an important one, and I'm buzzing we've managed to help as many people as we have, but it's time to think about growth. Recently, I've brought on a business development manager, and I'm here today to seek out a little bit of mentorship, some guidance, and maybe some knowledge in the education and sports space. Thank you very much. Put my old-fashioned notes away now. Everyone's got their phones, and I'm like 20, and I was like, why do I look like with my paper notes? But fair enough.
Well done, Bailey. It was such a wonderful energy that you have, and I think it's so lovely that you actually connected, exercising with feeling good and it not being around looking a certain way. I'm just interested to know how you have developed your fitness program around the different sort of cohorts of people that you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So we, the coaches we bring on board have training or educational backgrounds or specific qualifications within those remits. So we usually have different coaches for different categories of people, whether it's care homes, whether it's specific, dementia work, or whether it's schools and that education background.
Great. And just a final one, and I'll pass on. So what outcomes do you measure from what you do?
So for us, which is hard sometimes with our funders, outcomes are not really the big thing for us. Obviously, like our Women's Only project, we received a certain amount of money and we were given the task of getting 50 women to this space. Our outcome, our measurable, was the amount of women, and we got 130 in the first 3 months, and that was a year-long project. So that was a measurable that we used.
Good stuff. 2 questions. How do you scale your enthusiasm? And I guess the same scale question of the commercial model. How do you really pad that out across UK and beyond?
Of course. So the sectors that I work within, we're lucky enough to find a lot of passionate people. Because we're talking about change and physical health and mental health, there's a lot of enthusiasm to be found if we look far enough. With scale, it's all about our business-to-business model. So our charity works great, and we get taken in by lots of charities like MS Parkinson's, Children in Need, and many more charities that have brought us on board for their projects. But we find that the care homes and the schools are the business-to-business work, and that's the scalable model where our coaches go in, and that brings in the profit, which means we can ultimately run our projects for community at no cost, which is where our 2,000 people came from.
Great pitch, and thanks for sharing the story. Again, slightly different question, but what does good look like for you in this business? Where do you want to take it to?
Just helping as many people as we can. Look, the numbers for me, and that's why I'm seeking guidance and maybe a little bit of mentorship, because I'm not a big fan of business. I'm a big fan of working with people, which is why I've brought on my business development manager and the people and the coaches around me that I need. But in reality, I could use a little bit more help and education when it comes to running a business, on a scalable level. And I certainly do, because I understand that to help as many people as we want, we also have to think very smart and as a profitable business.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next up, we've got Health List.
Hi, my name's Kuljit and I'm the founder of Health List. When my teenage son was diagnosed with a chronic condition, I found myself searching for a digital health tool that would help him track his symptoms. And what I found when I was doing the search was that search in digital health was fragmented and overwhelming, even for someone like me with a healthcare background. There's over 350,000 health and wellness apps out there, and then you add in all the other categories such as wearables, home health, telehealth, and then online communities. It's a booming £260 billion global market. And managing your health and pursuing preventative care really should be empowering, but it's complicated at the moment by search. And that's where Health List comes in. We're here to simplify search. We are on a mission to become the gateway to digital health and wellness, where we become a convenient and trusted starting point for any consumer to navigate this landscape. We signpost people to digital health solutions that match their specific health goals and needs. And once we've done that, they can then assess and compare our AI-powered, personalised recommendations. They can look at ratings and reviews, and it's all on a community-powered platform that's ad-free. So our business model is about matching health brands with health seekers, and we've had over 35 health brands sign up for our beta. We're a lean team of just 2. We've got backgrounds in health and technology, and we are looking to raise a pre-seed round of £250,000. Thank you so much for listening. I'd invite you to join our beta and to find out how we are transforming search for health and wellness. Thank you.
Great pitch, love the energy. Just talk to me a little bit more about kind of competition. It sounds like you fit into a slightly different sector of the ecosystem than some of your peers.
Yeah, so there are other people out there in terms of competition, but no one's really looking at personalised AI in terms of those recommendations. And in terms of search, you're looking at Google, you've got Gen Z that are looking at things like hashtags on social media. So that's the kind of competition that's out there in terms of this. So yeah, I think we fit quite nicely because we're very personalised and we're using AI, we're leveraging AI to make it easier, but we're still using the tools that people like on, like Community.
Thank you.
In terms of the model and how we're charging, is that sort of go compare for healthcare? Are we an affiliate model?
Yeah. So we're free for consumers. We make it easy for them, and it is free. The business model that we're using is we kind of have health brands pay as a monthly fee, so it's a subscription basis for them. What they get is lead gen in terms of those prospects, but also we're looking to be a bit of a G2 for health, digital health, and kind of giving them data and insights on their consumers or potential consumers.
Do you charge for traffic that goes through to their website as well, or is it?
No, we're not like Google does in that respect. So traffic can go through, and every health brand has a free brand page. That's kind of a given. We're really looking to build a really ethical model that, in that respect. But we would charge if people wanted to kind of see who we were kind of recommending their brand to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how do you manage conflict within that? So if you're charging, from a consumer perspective, am I getting shown, brands that are paying or?
No, so we're an ad-free platform. So that's where we differentiate between Google and even the App Store in that respect. Nobody could come along, no brand could come along and give us a lump sum of money to make sure they are number one in those things. We're looking at people's health goals, looking at the product features that they're looking for and then matching them according to that.
Great. Can I just ask, it's a sort of a twist on Kiran's question. What is the value proposition that you're kind of giving to the businesses? Because I know, there's Orca, which is obviously the biggest in terms of rating businesses, and then they have sort of a consultancy-driven model, which is helping them to sort of be compliant. But what is the kind of value proposition that you're giving the businesses in onboarding them?
So our value proposition is about discoverability for them. Orca are amazing. They're brilliant. I think we'd want to kind of feed their ratings into kind of our model. So we're not competing with them in any which way. We're very much consumer facing. So for the brands, it's very much about discoverability and insights on the consumers as well. So it's a consumer health platform.
Great. And just finally, you mentioned that you had a health background. Could you just expand on that?
Yeah, I started off life 20 years ago as a community pharmacist and kind of trained through primary care, and so that's a little bit where HealthList comes from. I'm used to signposting people to health tools and resources, and no one's doing it for digital health and wellness.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. And next up we have Billy. Come to the stage.
Cheers, I'm Billy from Fassion. So I have a 19-year-old brother, and he's the epitome of Gen Z. He grew up with social media. He's far more stylish than me. But when it comes to shopping, online shopping especially, he's having the exact same experience I had 10 years ago. Endless scrolling, constant clicking through different tabs, apps, and websites. Online shopping is as arduous as it has ever been. Social media seems like it's the solution, but one flick through Instagram with pictures of your friends, their pets, picturesque holidays, reveals that it's not the environment for shopping. On top of this, Gen Z are increasingly looking for alternatives to fast fashion. 65% want to shop more sustainably and for higher quality, but the issue is that they don't know where to find these alternatives. Fashion is a community-driven marketplace for creatives, creators, customers, and independent fashion brands. On Fashion, customers can discover independent brands and products all on one platform, interact with content from brands, friends, and content creators, and purchase products through the marketplace as well as through shoppable images and videos on a social feed. So we have launched an MVP, which was a basic marketplace website, but lacked key social elements. That being said, we saw some great traction. We made over £40,000 in sales. We onboarded over 80 brands, and we've now built up an app wait list of over 2,000 users. We are currently in the final stages of building the Fashion mobile app, and all of this has been bootstrapped by myself and my co-founder and brother, Charlie, through a successful side business we've been running in tandem. So we are currently looking to speak with investors on the run-up to the launch of the mobile app. So if you know anyone or yourself may be interested, please reach out and get in touch.
Yeah, well done for finding another way to spell fashion as well.
Cheers.
How are you getting eyes? So the problem is that apps is trying to get eyes on and keep people on the app.
100%.
How are you getting eyes on the app, and how are you leveraging where eyes are, which is the social media platforms, to bring them onto your app?
So there's two parts to this question. So how are we bringing them on? The independent brands that we're working with, they already have an established audience. A lot of them on Instagram probably have between 10,000 and 100,000 followers. But the issue they find is Instagram changes their algorithm once, they have to restart, try and put more money into ads and try and get those users back and get those sales to where they were. Now what we're doing, and how we got the £40,000 worth of sales originally on the MVP, was just through leveraging the networks of the independent brands we had on the platform. So we'd offer them a 20% discount for the first 2 weeks of them joining the platform, which worked out about a customer acquisition cost of about £8, which is low for a marketplace model. And then once they're on the app, once the customer's on the website, we haven't implemented this yet, and this is one thing we learned from the MVP, and that's why the social aspect's so important, but the ability to follow creators, to follow independent brands, to come back for things other than just purchasing products. I mean, we've spoken to customers who literally wake up in the morning and flick through ASOS like it's a social media. Now, if we can actually give them relative engaging content to come back to, as long as we can bring them onto the platform, we'll keep them engaged through that.
Is there a plan to allow creators to be able to create within the...
Yeah, so creators are going to be a major part of this. So not only will they be able to post content, but there'll also be an affiliate model where they can have their own stores. So instead of Instagram, where you pay someone £800 to post a picture, what an influencer will be able to do is pick the products they love from the platform, curate their own stores. Whenever anyone buys through their curation, they actually have an affiliate model, which actually encourages them to bring people to the platform from their own socials as well. So we have 3 different users: customers, creators, and independent brands, and each one of them has a reason to bring other people to the platform, which leveraging the network effects more than any other platform is currently.
Thanks for the pitch. How do you think about scalability and kind of efficient scalability, given
potential kind of marketing spend you need to get eyes on the platform?
Yeah, completely. So the marketing spend for any marketplace is going to be an issue. I mean, the one thing that, like I sort of just discussed then, is leveraging the network effects of the independent brands we have coming onto the platform. So if they've got 100,000 users, if we can budget to actually reach 20% of them, then we're bringing them on for a customer acquisition cost of, it'll be higher than £8 when the average price goes up. But that's one aspect. And then in terms of the value of it, it is very expensive, and it will be a very expensive model to begin with. But if we look at the results that come off the back of that, Depop as an example, they sold for 1.6 billion, but their bottom line revenues were only 70 million. So that's 23x. And the thing that made that so valuable was its Gen Z audience. In fact, it was environmentally friendly, and we're operating on those exact same principles. So yes, it will be expensive, but the payoff is great.
Yeah, to be fair, I'd have asked TikTok and Depop the same question.
Yeah.
Very well.
Perfect, we're out of time for questions. So
Thank you.
Okay, and our final pitch for the night is Tom from EdenFiftyOne.
Okay. English is the language of global opportunity, but there is no standardized system to support the teaching and learning process, to bridge the islands of education and employment, or to facilitate a critical route out of poverty for millions of people. 4 days after completing my English degree here in Manchester, I was diagnosed as dyslexic. Within 12 months, I fast-tracked as a state school English teacher and set out on a mission to demystify and democratise the learning process. Over a 15-year career, I studied hundreds of exam board specifications from across the world and identified that there are only 51 universal skills at the core of English education. With a deconstructed and skill-by-skill approach embedded within my trusty Excel spreadsheet, I've helped thousands of students, hundreds of teachers and secondary schools all over the UK to raise their results to their best ever levels. So I resigned from my classroom career to become a solo founder, to bootstrap a tech startup, to develop an MVP web app and to prove the provision at scale. The innovative, inclusive and equitable EdenFiftyOne EdTech platform has fantastic testimonials, awards and pilot project outcomes from Liverpool to Athens to Hanoi. Surrounded by a growing team of specialists, advisors and mentors, we launch our B2B SaaS business at the Educate Awards in November and both our B2C and B2G provisions in October 2024. With 100k in grant funding already secured, including an AI study with Innovate UK, we're raising £250,000 of SEIS to accelerate our purpose-driven mission.
Brilliant, and great traction there. I just wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about the team that you've got around you.
Okay, very, very lucky. I actually have been hot desking in Supply-Well's office. Supply-Well were the Tech Nation Rising Stars 3.0 winners, Mike, Dan and Raina. Hot desk in their office and learning from them. They are my advisors, they're also my mentors. I've developed an advisory panel or an advisory board that is probably the slide that I'm most proud of on my pitch deck. People who have started tech companies, ed tech companies specifically, people in international education, people in finance, people in tech, all of the stuff that I do not specialise in. As you said at the beginning, the most important thing is knowing what your own strengths are and going bat out of hell for those, but finding the people that complement you so that you can just get on with what it is that you do.
Great pitch. What's the pain point that is going to make schools buy it?
It's interesting that internationally this will probably be easier for me than it is in this country. That's down to the similar story with the NHS in terms of budgets. When people talk about the privatisation of the NHS, they forget that that's been happening in education for the last 15 years with the academy model. The academy model has defragmented the secondary school and more like rapidly the primary school model in this country. So it's quite difficult to go to an LEA now that previously had 30 schools that now has 3 left. In another few years, they won't exist. Going to an academy system that's low on funding, trying to get an entire scattered national picture of schools to adopt something completely different, it's very difficult. But internationally, I attended the Bet Asia show with the DBT in Northern Powerhouse last year, met with the Ministry of Education for Vietnam. They said, prove it. I worked with the university, we've got 95% positive outcomes with them. Could EdenFiftyOne improve the inclusive and equitable approach to English teaching, language, learning and assessment in Vietnam as a state provision? Yes, I'll go back in 3 weeks to present those outcomes. So ironically and very sadly for me, because I've only worked in state education in this country my whole life, I would love to serve that system, but it will be easier for me to fly it across the world and sell it to a country than it will be for me to sell it to a school down the road.
The follow-up question was going to be universities. How does it fit in with that ecosystem?
So I work very closely with LJMU, Liverpool John Moores. We're currently on our second project. I'm doing the AI feasibility study alongside their machine learning and AI department. That's publishing me. One of the big problems that people have had, well, not a problem, they've kind of said it tongue-in-cheek. They've said, look, EdenFiftyOne's great. Here's 51 skills. They're all colour-coded. So rather than talking about grades that mean nothing, students can see that the journey to that grade is colour-coded like a traffic light system, so they can say, my grade is poor because writing skill 6 is red. What's writing skill 6? Teachers have said it's great, massive engagement. Schools reported getting the best results they've ever had, even if they're in a multi-academy trust of 33 schools and they've been open for 50 years. But the university studies kind of back up what it is that I'm doing. I'm happy to take LJMU on that journey with me. I only met with their Director of International Relations, Dr. Julia Wang, this morning to discuss that relationship for credibility.
Brilliant pitch, never easy to go last. Main question from me, sounds like you got a lot of traction, so many things going well. Why are you not looking to raise more?
Very good question. I think one of the things that I'm proud of is the fact that I resigned as a teacher, as an educationalist. I don't have a background in tech. When I read that bit about, the MVP web app, I remember thinking of all that stuff when I heard it 12 months, 18 months ago. I was like, I don't know what any of that means. By running lean, and I'm proud of that, I've bootstrapped the whole thing. I work as a nationwide education advisor. I train teachers. I do emergency exam intervention for students. So if the school writes those kids off and says they've got 4 weeks, they're going to fail, it doesn't matter where they are in the country, I will go and do that. I'll put them into my system. I get the results. I get the testimonials. So I do all that to bootstrap it. And I've got to this point now where I'm only full-time as of 2 weeks ago because of the Innovate grant and the other UFI VOCTEC grant that I've got. So I know it's move fast, break things on one hand, but I've worked alongside a lot of other businesses as part of the exchange cohort that thought they were moving fast and breaking things, and their offices are now empty. So slowly, but I'm happy to take advice on the right pitch at the right time.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Great pitch there and some amazing validation. Okay, that's the end of the pitching part of the event, and we will be finding out the winner in just a few moments. If I could just ask the judges if they could all hit submit on their forms, so that my colleagues at the back of the room can work out who won. I'm sure we'll all agree that was a really great group of pitches, and it was fantastic to see the passion to change things and to make an impact in so many different areas. So if we could really quickly get a sort of summary statement from the judges and just hear maybe a quick sentence on what you thought of the cohort, that would be fantastic. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, definitely. No, thanks for all the pitches. Really great to see the kind of energy and the diversity of pitches and businesses. Great to see so many good local companies.
Yeah, great energy, guys. Always nice to see and hear things that question my intelligence. There was a few up there tonight. But yeah, really enjoyed it, and best of luck with your endeavours.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. The quality of the pitches was brilliant. There's so much passion up there, which was great to see. Just wish everyone well in whatever you're doing, and leverage the kind of network that being part of this programme will give you, even if you don't move forward to the final.
Brilliant, lovely comments there. And just while we wait for the winner's announcement, I want to take a moment to thank our partners, the sponsors that make the pitch possible and allow us to keep it free for everybody that takes part. So first we have Curry's Business. They give you they supply all of the hardware you need to scale your startup, from the basics like your laptop to some of the audiovisual equipment that you see us using here today. They partnered with the pitch to give discounts to people that take part, but also to create content that's going to educate you and help you in your journey. So we have a free course on improving your short form social video. So if you are trying to grow on TikTok or Instagram, go and check out the pitch homepage and you can sign up for that course completely for free. We also have Vodafone Business, and they run an amazing initiative called VHub. So VHub offers free coaching to any founder that needs support. And that could be on anything from your finances or even improving your pitch. So if you are just looking for an hour on something specific and you want that support, do go and speak to one of those advisors. You don't have to be a customer. And again, we have a link to that directly from our homepage. So any of these offers, if you want to check them out and get that free support, go and visit the site. We also have Sage, and Sage have supported the pitch for the last few years, and particularly around founders that are either running their businesses as side hustles, and I know we heard from a few people that started out that tonight, or they're working on their own, so they're solopreneurs. So we built a whole hub of advice if you find yourself in that situation, and that will help you with everything from managing your finances, your budgets, especially when your personal money comes into it as well, through to well-being and things like that. So if you are in that position, again, check out the hub of advice you can use completely for free. We've also got Agora, and they specialize into recruiting into high-growth startups and also VC firms. So if you are at that point where maybe you have got investment and you're looking to scale your team rapidly, that's what they specialize in. So do have a look at them. They're absolutely lovely, small team operating out of London. Greg, who's one of the founders, is also doing a free program at the moment. So they help about 6 startups a year, right at the very beginning. So if you're at that point where you're even trying to work out who should my co-founders be, who should my first hires be, give me a shout on LinkedIn. I'll connect you to Greg and perhaps he can give you a bit of help. And finally, we have Cedars, who are an equity crowdfunding platform. And I'm sure most of you have heard of what they do. But effectively, they allow the crowd, so to get beyond kind of the people you see sitting on the panel or your angel and sophisticated investors, and open it up to your friends, family, customers, and people that haven't even heard of your business before. So if you are thinking of going the crowdfunding route, give me a shout. Happy to chat and talk to you about how it works. It's a fantastic opportunity to boost around, so perhaps you're raising some money privately and you want to open that up. And it's also a great way to get advocates for your business, because even if a customer puts £10 in, they've got effectively skin in the game, and they then become an advocate and will market your business for you. So yeah, really proud to be supported by a really lovely group of companies this year, and they're all putting a lot of value back into the community. So I'm getting a nod from the back, so I think that means we've got the winner. Yes, Emily, if you could bring the envelope up, that'd be fantastic. Okay, so the winner from tonight with a remarkably high score is EdenFiftyOne. So if you want to join me back on stage. I love it. If you just say a few words for us,
I just don't know what to say. I just genuinely wasn't expecting that. Thank you very much. I'm absolutely over the moon. I timed that at 90. It was 93 seconds when I was doing it yesterday, and I was thinking, I didn't know if it was going to be like a hard no or anything at the end on like the last 3 seconds when I was going B to B, B to C, B to G. It's like all of the bits that I know that you actually want to hear, rather than the last 20 years of contextual like sob story stuff. But yeah, just thank you very much. Things like this. I read something on LinkedIn the other day when people say investors don't care about awards, and you think, do you know what, actually, for all of the good that it does you to go through the process, to do things like this, to refine the pitch, to think, right, what is the problem, what is the solution, how am I solving it, why me, why now, to go through that, and not that you need to win it to validate it, but actually just going into that next meeting and going, have you heard of the Pitch UK? Of course you have. Yeah, I won that as a regional, and I'm absolutely over the moon. Sorry for rambling.
I love it. I couldn't have said it better. There's some champagne there. Really, really quickly, so there is a People's Choice vote as well, so we'll pop you an email about that when the pitches are released, and if you do want to vote for one of the founders tonight, have a look out for that. There's other ways you can support them too. You can become a customer, maybe give them some feedback on their pitches, or even invest in them. So if you are interested in any of the founders, do grab them in the networking afterwards. So thanks everyone, really appreciate you coming out and being so welcoming to everyone today. Thank you.